Well, I bought this air conditioner fence camouflage hydro unit on Amazon, and it arrived in okay condition, and I set out to build it and found the instructions were terrible. So this video is to help you if you want to see how I made mine. So I'm trying to make this air conditioner shade slash camouflage, and I got some pieces here. But basically, these instructions they gave are just utter garbage. So here's something you need to know. I got the side panels, which have a little bit of sloppy construction. There are two of them just like that. I got the main front panel. There's this bar that's going to make a square that eventually supports the aluminum top, which is this thing right here, which will sit on top. And then over here, you got these four parts that are designed if you want to screw it and attach it to your wall. These would also be intended to attach it to your wall. These 6 pieces are what they call aluminum corners. We're going to use those to assemble the hardware. There is a mess of screws that came with it. They call them self-tapping. They don't look like self-tapping screws to me, but regardless, these ones here are for attaching the unit, and this ones with the flat tops are probably for affixing the top onto the unit. Here we go. Here's the box that arrived in with the top side. I just moved it over here. You can see the paint on it. And we're going to look at the main louver panel here, which I've also moved. What you want to know is that when you see the corrugated sides and these rougher edges, that means it's the inside facing your air conditioner, and a cleaner side without all those extra rough edges and gaps, that's for the outside. So I got this basically facing away from me, and I'm looking at the inside. I'm going to begin assembly. So I got out my drill and I set the torque really low so that I don't put a lot of torque onto these screws because it's very thin aluminum. If you have a drill driver, excellent, set the torque low. If you're going to be doing it by hand, peace be with you, brother. So before you start, there are no markings, guidelines, or holes or indicators for where you should put these angle things. That's actually a stamping part of the manufacturing. It's unrelated to our assembly. So this is where we want to put the angle thing. They don't give you any way of knowing where to put it, so you're going to have to eyeball and put it there yourself. Mine, of course, is a little offset here. That's by mistake. But regardless, what you want to do, I think, is leave yourself enough room on the outside and enough room underside to have ample space to fit the thin aluminum around it. And then when I screw in from this side, a screw going that way to hold in the next piece, it'll be able to pull onto this and pull it in snug. So I've done that on both these corners. And now I've lifted a side piece into place. You can see the inner side markings on both of these. They're both falling the same way. So if you're outside, this is the bottom, that's the top, and the rain would go on the outside. It would fall down these. All right, I'm going to attach some screws now into that because, as you recall, that's where my angle iron is. I'm going to pull it in with some screws. Well, they're so-called self-tapping screws. I've made it through the outer aluminum, but I'm having trouble getting it onto the angle aluminum inside. So we're going to use a little pre-drilling to make our life easier. Well, I got one screw through. I'm starting to think from how hard that was to put that screw in, that they did not intend me to even put a screw in through this. So I drilled that right one in with a larger bit and got it all the way through. I think I'm going to do one screw per side. I don't think this was even part of their intention, but I'm going to do it. Okay, I got my one screw in the bottom side. And I put that one screw dead center in the top side. And now this thing is lightly attached, but you notice the whole midsection is still loose. They're going to want me to put screws in here, 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 etc. So let's put a few of those screws in. Now they gave us a lot of these blue screws, so I'm not being shy. I already put one there, got one up top there as well. What I've noticed is that if you tuck them behind these louvers, they won't be visible when you finished assembly from the outside. So I'm just going to drive one in right here, right now. There we go. One more. All right, so I dropped all those screws in. You can see one, they're tucked behind each of these louvers all the way down, all those blue screw heads. The other screws are there originally. They were shipped from the factory like that. That's what holds on the louvers and those inside grooves. So these screws are only visible from the inside. If I show you the outside, you can see how they're hidden from view. So one side's done, let's do the next. Bang. Bang. Slide. All right, got one and the other. Now I got to add these screws in below these louvers. Okay, so we got that done on that side. It was done first on this side. And so we're ready to stand it up and do a little bit more. All right, so I put it right side up and stood it up. These things are attached okay. And they're fixed all up and down, as you recall, with those screws all in there and up here. All right, next up, we're going to attach a bar that goes from here across to here. We're going to use a couple more of those aluminum corners and to get that affixed. Well, I got the bar right here, and you kind of have a couple options. You could put it oriented like this, or you could put it oriented like that, which would be stronger. I'm going to go like this for consistency. That's how all the other bars are oriented along the top. So this will be the same, but it's a matter of choice. The other thing you could do is you could say, listen, I want to support my top and actually install it somewhere in the middle like this so that your top has less chance of bowing. And if it does, drain the water off towards this side here. That's a choice. Like I said, I'm going for this. So now it's on there. All I got to do, drill a hole and put a screw in both sides. Okay, those two screws are in. Now we got a bit of a box. Going to put the top on it. Personally, to avoid the other screws that are underneath, I'm just going to go about 4 inches away from the corner, in each corner. Going to do a couple more there, a couple more there. And then I'll round it out with a few more screws around the perimeter. I'm not going to use too many, hardly needs any. So let's get going. So if you recall, I started on this corner, and now I moved to this corner, and then I moved to that corner. I'm doing this corner last. And what that means is that I'm starting here and working away from that corner, and that prevents potential buckling. If I did opposite corners first and then try to put down this one and that one, I might have put a warp where it doesn't quite fit. So I'm working from one corner towards the other. I'll also note that I found the only pre-drilled hole I found on the whole unit sitting over there in that corner, and I'm probably not going to use it. Okay, I lied. I used it. And in the end, I added one to each corner. A couple of reasons. One, it made it look more like the original corner where the hole was drilled. But if I didn't, I found it was a little bit of a flap, which risked being a loose edge that could cut me or animals or kids or whatever. You'll notice that mine doesn't look that good. The finish is pretty scuffed up. Personally, I don't care. I'm not trying to make it look good. Mine's going mostly outside to protect the air conditioner, not for beautification. And also all these screw heads. If you cared, you might want to paint all of that, but I'm just going to let mine sit outside and gather dust and moss. So anyway, that's it. That's the finished product. You got the air conditioner shade built up. Not too bad. Anyways, terrible instructions. I'm pretty angry at them. This is just a joke. They didn't show you how or where to do any of these things. So hopefully this video helped a bit. So here you can see my finished product. I haven't really attached it to the wall yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this board and attach it to the wall because it is also shading and protecting my coolant lines. And I want to keep them safe from dogs, basically. Dogs go chasing mice and lizards in here and scratch up all that stuff. So this is going to keep the dogs off and keep the sun off. As you can tell, it's already beating down because this unit's in a south-facing orientation. But there you go. That's what you get.